Welcome back to the Artistry Podcast. I'm Jay.
And I'm Sev. Today we'll get into a slightly different topic, financial success. We'll tackle this topic in general, but also in relation to, don't read this, Sev, my lovely, awesome, super duper book, Crystal Saga, Children of War. Let's start from over, now that I felt...
No, we keep it. We keep it like we kept the other ones.
No.
Oh, this is perfect. I love it.
Oh, because I was just reading nonstop. My brain was switched off. I was just reading the line nonstop.
This is a payback for the previous ones. This is perfect. Let's keep going.
All right. As if you people want to know about the navigation of the podcast, which topic we're speaking, you have all the detailed information down below, and I'll let you peruse at your own leisure.
Sure. So we'll speak about different revenue streams for any business really, and none of which we have. So, yeah. And
it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to
Mm-hmm.
speak about something we do not have. Success.
But we did have some ideas, and I mean there is a desire and ambition to move in that direction. So I think we can have some contribution on this topic.
I hope so.
And so business endeavor will usually have more than one way to make money, and that's what we'll talk about. Keep in mind that we're not businessmen, just two guys you love listening to. So remember to like and subscribe. Wink, wink. So let us know in the comments if you've implemented any idea that led to financial returns, a side job or like just a small project you had on the side, or did it just turn out to be a money sink or a time sink that didn't lead to anything, but always a lesson learned, and share it with us in the comments below. All right, so, and a little bit of a juicy behind the scenes info. Seth and I have discussed potential ways to make a profitable business. So the podcast sort of is the beginning, it's a pilot, if you wish. Like on a TV show, it's a pilot to see if this has any future. So we did have a brainstorming session, and let me tell you, we both got wet. There were plenty of ideas.
I'm still uncomfortable with that sentence you wrote there.
There were plenty of ideas. Guys, it's just my mood today, okay? I had plenty of sleep. I took an extra day off from my work, so I got extra sleep, so I'm in a good mood, okay? Just bear with me. Just try to handle the bad jokes, okay? So let's start off with the concept of financial success and general success. Sev does have some solid experience here, so I'll let him start this off.
I mean, general success is you make a goal of achieving something, aka writing your book, and you wrote the book. Way to go. Success. Pat yourself on the shoulder, as Jay has taught you in the past, and you have done something that 1% of writers all over the world are able to do. Like 99% of the people that start writing a book don't finish it. It's an incredible achievement to finish something that you've started, especially if it's something that requires months, maybe even years of your time to finish. However, you have to be able to separate that sort of personal success with financial success, and that's what I had to learn. Just because I made a book, that doesn't mean that I am now a self-sustaining author. In fact, in terms of monetary success, my experience was a failure. The investment I put on writing the book did not pay me back. The sales I had on merchandise, on editors, on the book itself, I didn't get the same value back. So I had to cut my losses. I have to say, well, I learned so much experience. I'm such a better person for it. But, experience doesn't pay the bills. Experience doesn't put food on the table. And
just if I may, just a question to put things into perspective. So how long did it take since the moment you started putting money in, not just time, until the moment you started selling the book? And then how long has it been until now that you've launched your book for sale?
Oh my God, so many questions that I'm not prepared to answer.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. How long ago have you started investing money and not just time into your book?
Okay, so the book was published in 2019, and I have a vague feeling that I started spending money on it 2 years prior. So those were 2 years where I invested on an editor and on some sample publications so that I have a physical copy in front of me that I could give out. And so in 2 years, I spent around 3,000. Me, by the way, I should say that me has an asterisk on it. I had a fantastic investor that helped me cover a lot of the expenses, and I also had Patreon where people helped me with the expenses. So, but what I spent on the book was around 3,000 euros.
Okay. Didn't expect would cover specific numbers, but I think that's helpful for the audience.
Yeah, sure, might as well. So that was because, I should also say, it's that expensive just because I wrote a really stupidly big book. My book is 700 pages long, and I formatted the pages so that I tried to fit as much text into a page as possible so that the book wouldn't even be bigger than that, because the bigger a book is, the more expensive it would have to be to sell. So if I made it, usually you want to have some decent margins, you want to have some nice spacing between the lines, and if I had done that, the book would have easily reached probably 1,000 pages long. And that would have increased the price of the book on the market from 20 euros to about 30 or 40, which would make it, not many people are capable of just dropping a $40 bill and just buying a book, especially of an author that they do not know. Therefore, I had to make this gamble. Okay, I have to tighten the book as much as I can to try and make it as cheap as I can.
Right. And so you mentioned that you launched the book in 2019, and so we're in 2021 now. I mean, at the time of this recording, in August. So, what percentage have you been able to recover? Because you had some sales.
Yeah, I had some sales. Again, I did merchandise, which worked pretty well. I feel like I got 1/3 of my investment back, maybe a bit more than 1/3. And that's not bad. I think we've mentioned this before. If we haven't, I'll repeat myself again, which is I'm not a good salesman. That is not the part of my job that I have expertise in. Like I want to be the creative that writes stuff and does stuff and obviously creates stuff. But as soon as I have to do that, I have to put on that car salesman act and I walk up to a person I don't know and say, "Hey, have you read my book? It's a really good book. Here, have a signed copy of me, please. Just take it, please. I'll pay you." And that's sort of just take it.
By the way, I will cut this clip and then just put it without the context so that it sounds like you are.
I'll just start the podcast with that clip.
Yeah, but by the way, guys, to the listeners, I know we mentioned Sev's book many times, and in a way, we do want to, expand its horizons, the book's horizons, but that's not the main goal of the podcast. But reason is that the reason we mention it so often is because that's what kind of started this thing off, and then from there we're actually, expanding. But it's a crucial point of common interest and common,
it's also
ambition, so to speak.
It's also like a benchmark that kind of shows what we're capable of, like. The experience that I'm talking about isn't coming from nothing. I actually, like I said, we spent years behind this project, and you learned a lot of stuff from those years, and that gives me some validation. That doesn't mean that I'm an expert in this, but my conversation with other creators, and especially with other people who want to be writers, I feel like many of their issues in the start of the project was something I experienced and I've found the solution to. So I feel like I have a lot of valuable information to give. And one thing a person needs to understand is that success of the book is really, the financial success of a book is really hard to gauge because it's really hard to sell it. You have this sort of like fantasy that as soon as you finish reading a book, people just walk up to you and say, "You have a book? Oh my God, I've been needing a book for my house for ages. Please, let me buy 3. And you feel like just because you finished the product, that it will immediately be valuable to someone. And I had that shock as well because I work in a newspaper and I have good context in the press world. That I felt like, I'm a writer, and I'm pretty sure as soon as I finish the book, I can just like straddle on to my newspaper buddies and say, "Hey, I wrote a book, and they'll just do the promotion themselves. I had this vague and surreal notion that it would just instantaneously sell because it was a really good book. And it might be a good book. The feedback I've had was vastly positive, which makes me feel really well. But it's just the initial interest. The reaction to you finishing your book is, "Oh, you did? Really good. I would like to read it someday. Can you give me a copy for free?" No. Oh well. Well, see you later, brother. Good luck with your book business. And they just ignore forever. So it's really hard to sell that stuff, and that's why I tried through all avenues. I tried again with the merchandise. I made T-shirts. I made posters. I have big maps. I tried making a little contests, go through social media, say I wrote this book, this chapter, check it out, and the engagement was always so minimal. I guess,
and those are actually very good topics into what we'll discuss in terms of revenue streams that you mentioned. You mentioned Patreon and contests and such. We'll get into that, but before that, I'd just like to finish this quick section. I just wanted to ask. You mentioned that in 2 years' time, you recovered about 1/3 of your initial investment, and I'm curious: has there been a significant decline of sales compared to the previous 2 years, or has it been more or less the same?
But I could actually say that that 1/3 came in the first year, and it might even say in the first months. It was when you have initial interest of the book, when the story of finishing your book was fresh. So people were like, and most of the people that bought it were like. People who were invested in me as an author, like, "Oh, you wrote a book, I like you, so I'm going to buy it." And through that, I had the friends of friends who were like, "Oh, my friend of mine told me that you're kind of cool, so I want to buy your book as well." And it kind of droned on to the friends of friends and promoting the book themselves. I had this guy from the US. He was a friend of mine. And I never met him. I never spoke with him. And he just kind of just added me on Facebook and said, "I'm friends with this guy. And he said that you wrote a book of fantasy. And I'm a huge fantasy nerd. I would like to know if you have it for sale or something. I'd love to buy it. I love helping young creators." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Here, have it." I told him where to buy it through Amazon. Since then, his dog ruined his book. And he asked me if I could send him another one signed so that he could cherish it. So he bought me 2 books, and he bought a Kindle version of the book, and he read it online. So the guy kept investing on it, and he told me later that he tried to donate the book to a library. He teaches in a school, and he wanted to give the book to students as well and say, "Look, you guys should pick this out." And I was like, "Oh, fucking hell, man! That's the dream."
Your first apostolate.
Yeah, that's the dream, to have people with that sort of investment. That's our belief in the book, and they enjoyed it so much that they kept in touch with me. And I didn't know this guy from anywhere. And I'd like to believe that through him, I probably sold a few more copies in the United States. But those are such small numbers. Eventually, the well dried out, the interest dissipated, and now and then when I speak to friends or with this podcast, I'm curious. I'm gonna go check to see if my sales have any blips recently since we started this podcast. But I'm gonna do
so
that.
While you do that, I'll just intervene a little bit and back to the listeners. So if any of you have any concrete experience with marketing, sales, or books, I mean, we would very much like to know. For any specific ways to increase the sales of a good product, because we believe the product is good. I mean, I read the book, as I mentioned on previous podcasts. If you haven't listened to them, I liked it. I enjoyed it. That's why we got together. I feel like a broken record at this point. But I feel, and I think Seven agrees with me largely, that the marketing is a big issue. And I think he had a lot of issues with that in terms of, because it was very time consuming. He just wasn't able to cope with the time requirement to promote a book, because he has a job, he has a life. He wasn't ready to just drop everything and just pursue this one thing he wrote, just this one thing, and take So yeah, please let us know in the comments, like if you have anything, or get in touch. We actually have an email. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll drop it in the links, I'm sure. I don't know if we have been sharing it, but yeah, I'll drop it in. No, I can't recall the exact address right now, but yeah, it's something at Artistry Podcast Gmail, something like that. Probably exactly like that. So
As I checked my Amazon sales, and for the past month, since July, since we started the podcast, I have 0 orders, 0 people bought the book. And it's pretty much, what I kind of expected. Amazon is also very, very hostile, I think, to new creators. It has this sort of algorithm that it promotes. It promotes people that invest money in promoting the book. What I mean by this is, if you write the book, put it on Amazon, then you need to spend money to promote the book, so that the Amazon will put it higher on the list when you search for it, or when you're just looking for books, it kind of suggests, oh, you like fantasy, you might also like this, and that and that is a really unfriendly way of doing things, because what happens most of the time is, if you're buying books on Amazon and you like fantasy, the suggestions that are going to show up are suggestions of people that paid to have their suggestions show, and not necessarily because of your own inherent taste in fantasy. Like, you might like, I don't know, unicorn fantasy, and you found this fantastic book about unicorns, and you finish the book, and the suggestions go, you might also like this, and he starts speaking about ships or sci-fi stuff that have nothing to do with unicorns, but those are just people. It's just the vague terms that are related to what you enjoyed, and of people that promoted it through their own ads. And that always feels a bit facetious. That seems a bit not facetious, but dishonest to me, because it feels like Amazon is paying me to sell the book, but half of that revenue I have to give back to Amazon to promote it.
Right. And then the question is, not being a very large publisher and having no other channels of selling the book, then you don't have much power, right? You don't have much leverage or choice.
Yeah,
stuck.
I have I've recently been following these lectures by Brandon Sanderson. He is an amazing writer who also amazingly has these lectures on writing for free on YouTube, and like hour-long lectures where he's very in-depth about every aspect of writing. I highly recommend everyone to see it, and I'm going to give you the link to put it down below, because people should watch if you have any interest in writing, you should watch what this guy has to sell, because he goes through all the steps of developing plot, developing character, developing setting, and then he goes into tools for writers, such as what is your mindset to writing, and then he goes further in about the financials of do you need an editor, do you need an agent, how do sales works, and all that shit is incredibly enlightening, especially if you're kind of like me and just trying to break through the market. And that's also when I realized that independent publishing only really works if you are incredibly proactive on it. Like, if you are the type of writer that can start and finish a book in about 2 to 3 weeks, self-publishing is good for you. But that is because those self-publishing usually follows trends. And I learned this from Brandon Sanderson.
I see.
So if there's this sudden urge for sexy vampires, oh fuck, I gotta get in this wave, and you just shit out a book in 2 to 3 weeks, put it out, and get a few clicks on it. Good. Next week is Space Marines are the hot deal. Okay, write a story about Space Marines, 2 to 3 weeks, publish it, go. And if you keep this cycle going, you get insane revenues through self-publishing. If you just if you have a pulse on the market. But that is. Oh, you had a question? Go ahead.
No, it sounds a bit like perhaps fan fiction that the most popular ones can become books. Wasn't that the case for the
Twilight.
50 Shades of Grey or something?
Yes,
or
exactly.
Twilight,
50 Shades of Grey is fan fiction from Twilight.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't care for either of them, so I guess I just learned something.
No, it is. It started out that way, that people loved Twilight so much, and Twilight is a young adult romance story about teens and whatever. But
it wasn't hardcore enough.
Exactly, it wasn't hardcore at all. It was for teens. It was that sort of lovey-dovey, oh, I love you so much, let us hold hands, that sort of thing. Sure, it has some elements of, oh, they had a child, but you don't have the gritty details of sex. No, they're just like, they once at night they fell in each other's embrace so tenderly in love that in the next morning a baby was born. It's that
Next
sort of
morning,
thing.
that's some efficient. That's some efficient.
The stork came and just left them a beautiful baby boy, a beautiful bouncing
right.
baby boy. And
Right,
because and because there was an interest, for the more salacious aspects, 50 Shades of Grey originated from that. And again, because they had a pulse on the market, it's Stephanie Meyer, I believe it's the name of the author. I'm not sure. She there is this horny mother market that hasn't been explored by then. And so she shit out a book in 2 to 3 weeks, and it was.
Oh, really?
I think it was it was a really quick turnaround, turnout, and she became a millionaire almost
overnight. But yeah, these are anecdotal cases, right?
Yeah,
We can't see this as a general. But I see. I think I get the point that she was just kind of happened to be in the right topic or accidentally found a niche. I'm guessing it's accidental. I don't know, maybe she had some research behind it and she paid some people to do research. Oh, what kind of people are, what frustration?
In this case, I do believe it was lightning in a bottle sort of thing, where Twilight was immensely popular, and obviously there must have been thousands of forums or fan fiction. And I never read the book, so I'm not going to comment on their quality. But people say that her writing is a bit subpar. It's very repetitive. It's borderline just vulgar. But because of that entry point being so low, you don't need to be a highbrow scholar to read her book. No, if you're 12 years old and have a slight interest in sex, which I'm pretty sure most 12-year-olds do, they pick up the book and they can immediately read it through. It was made for them. So I do think she accidentally fell into a market that that serves now as an example for future authors to realize, if you realize what people are horny for today, you can make a lot of money if you're really fast at writing it.
Right.
And that
there are actually a lot of things I'd like to keep talking about there, but we'll get back to our topic, which is revenue streams, right? So just to mention, again, Seth does have more experience in this regard, but we did discuss different potential ideas. So, I'm kind of, one thing, guys, by the way, if you're listening to this, I want to read some comments, because we have no idea if what we're talking about is interesting to you or not. We've been talking to each other, and it's fun for us. It's great. We enjoy this. Yeah, but we don't know if there is any interest from the listeners, and whether you know us personally or through friends or such, or maybe if you're just someone who heard about us randomly on on your search for whatever topic. But I'd really like to know what you think.
Also, because we eventually want to answer questions. We want to engage more with an audience, not just talk to each other in a vacuum. So Any question, anything about anything. It doesn't even have to be about creativity. Ask us about a lasagna recipe. I'll tell you. I don't mind.
Well, there you go. See, Seth is much more open than I am. But I'd like to keep on the topics of the podcast. But there you go. You know who the Steve Jobs of the company is. Not face of the company. Yeah, but anyway, so we discussed several ideas for potential revenue streams, right? Regardless of the book, but let's say we have a podcast, which we do, and we talk about different things. So how about some merchandise or a brand, right? What's our brand? We are Artistry Podcast. Art is try. Ooh, so smart. Yeah.
Oh.
And so, t-shirts or something. Why not? If people are interested, usually it's kind of, I don't know if this is the correct term, but would be a vanity product. So it's not, you don't buy it for the t-shirt, you buy it for the brand, right? To support the authors. And so it's just, see, it's something different. It distinguishes you from others. And topic of conversation. Oh, what is that artist try? I've never heard of that. That sort of thing. And both of us like games. I don't know, video games, board games, whatever. Me and Sev, and or Sev and I, and
Very good.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to get into some games as well. Of course, we don't have knowledge to create them. I think Sev is. We can leave it for another topic. I think Sev has been dabbling into some creativity around
I'll
games.
create a board game even if it kills me.
There you go. A topic for another day. But yeah, like I'd love to have some games. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had any specific ideas, but games about different topics. Sure, why not? Like, or specific topics, or maybe a game where we just take on one of the stories of a book, or another writer we had on Eli, on just take some people who collaborate with us, who come on our podcasts, and then tell their stories through a game or through a video, like a short video, an animation, or anything like that. So
That'd be really cool.
that would be cool, right? I mean, but then again, how do you make money out of it? You have the typical YouTube advertisement scheme, which I'd like to stay away from as a main source of income. I'd like to be like, if we're selling products, it would be closely related to us. I don't want people to go listen to our podcast and then buy some fucking cereal. Like, I don't care about the cereal. Maybe I don't even like the cereal. Maybe I don't support it. Maybe he's like some terrorist that on his free time steps on babies whenever he walks into a room.
Yeah, I never trust
Yeah, like
Fuck
I don't want to sell
bear thing.
Right? You want to have some investment, like personal investment, or at least believe in what is being sold through you. And the way YouTube works is like, no, that just doesn't matter. They just push crap onto you. So I'm sure it's very convenient. It's a very simple way to make money. It's a very good way for advertisers to get their products across. But I wouldn't necessarily like to support that as a main thing, right? So yeah, games, videos. I mean, we'd like to do some contests. We spoke about contests, and in that case, it's more of a money sink, right? But there could be some revenue generated around a contest. I mean, one simple way would be to ask for a very small fee, an entrance fee, like a symbolic 50-cent fee. And then you have like if there's enough people, obviously the price can be like, €50 worth. Like, why not? Mm-hmm. So what's the method? Is like 100 people?
100 people, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, why not? I think 50 cents is 50 cent. We don't have
50
any
cents? We got 50 cents on the podcast?
Yeah, we don't have any affiliation with him yet. Yeah, but
we are getting financial success.
Yeah, but the point being,
it'd be interesting to have. I don't know. I mean, I hope that artists of any kind like hear us. I hope at least one. It'd be nice to have this sort of contest of art contest of just send us your stuff, anything, be it. Just send us our stuff, and we kind of like gauge upon ourselves. Maybe have like a Instagram or TikTok social media channel where we divulge and expose those works of art, and then we kind of make a selection between them what we think is the best. And congratulations, you won 50 cents a day with 50 cents.
That's great. I love that. That kind of got away by accident, sort of. But yeah. But I mean, that would be one way. I don't know. Another way would be obviously sponsors. Again, ideally it would be, for example, sponsored by Crystal Saga. Something like that. Although that's maybe not the best.
Since I'm here, every episode is sponsored by Crystal Saga.
Yeah, but I mean, monetarily, that's what it would mean, sponsoring. Although we kind of want to stay away from that, right? For now, until we have at least a wide enough audience to justify putting money. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm the one who manages the Facebook page, and since I created it, I hate Facebook. I mean, it's constantly barraging me with suggestion to spend money to advertise our Facebook page. Dude, I want to see other stuff on my Facebook feed. Why do you do this to me? It's like I said, hide this topic. I don't want to see this anymore. Like literally at least 6 times, maybe 15. And they just keep showing up. And it's kind of, I can see what you mean by hostility from Amazon and perhaps Facebook as well.
Oh, for sure.
But it's a useful platform. Yeah, it's a useful platform. This is the world we live in. We gotta either adapt or accept. So,
But I also
that's the way to
dislike Facebook and Amazon are absolute trash brands. And probably it's not a good idea to bite the
trash
hand. Yeah, and I mean, we don't know what our future holds, so it's probably not.
Dude, if if I may interject, I know you say like far future, but if Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos listens to this podcast just to know that we shit talked about them, dude, it was worth it.
Fuck you, Bezos and Zuckerberg, you alien-looking motherfucker. But their software, their website is so absolute trash. I hate using Amazon. It's supposedly such a convenient shopping experience. I find it a hostile. It looks so unintuitive. It's just a mess of menus, and I don't like. You can search for one product in 3 different sites. Like you have Amazon Germany, Amazon Italy, Amazon UK, Amazon America, and dependent where you're searching a certain product, it shows different results. And it has different information. It's just such a goddamn maze of information. I hate it. So poorly organized.
If I may defend a little bit on the different countries, because it's different markets, but I agree that the website is very trashy, and it's mostly, there's a lot of advertisement. The filters are not very useful. You generally cannot find the product in the way you want, like the sorting by price or whatever.
Yeah, it's so
like
bad.
It doesn't work the way you want. Yeah, the filter is not very good.
And I also believe
imagine
probably
Google does a much better job.
Yeah, and I also believe probably it's because Amazon does this sort of thing that if you want to sell your product, just put an ad out, and it feeds, like the algorithm feeds you stuff that people have paid to show instead of things that you are actively searching for. And it's such a I'm because my profession, like I make my bread as a designer, and looking at that trash website as a designer, it makes my eyes bleed. And the same thing for Facebook. I hate Facebook, and it's a goddamn dumpster fire of a website that is slowly burning into disuse, only to be used by people who are like 40 years and older, 40 years up.
But just by the way, I had like a flash of an image in my mind. I'd love to see fan art of somebody interpreting you saying you saying I make my bread like a designer. I'd love to see a fan art of that. Some interpretation, whatever. Like if you are an artist, or if you just want to scribble something, I'd love to see it. If it's on paint or something, I'd love to see that.
God. That'd be worth a day with 50 Cent.
Right, but not to shit too much on major platforms, because they are successful, and they are financially successful, and we are not yet. So maybe there's a lesson. What?
We might never be successful. Think about it, Jay. This might be right now, this episode can be as high as we'll ever get in our lives. This might be our peak.
May be the case. That might be the case, Sev, but I'm going to be successful. I'm not quite ready to leave you behind yet. Who knows what the future holds? Who knows what the future holds? But at the moment, I'm not going to let you be that guy. I'm not going to let you be that guy who, tries to drill a hole into the ship just because it's too grim.
I'll just show my middle finger and shoot the shotgun at the deck of the ship.
Yeah, I haven't had fresh water in days. I haven't eaten a proper meal. Like, fuck all of this. Not quite yet. But who knows? Maybe we'll get to that point. Too early to say. Again, just some couple ideas we had. Revenue streams. I mean, I'd love to get something regarding just like decoration, art or plushies and stuff. I mean, Sev is actually a fairly decent artist. I don't know if that's how you feel about that. I don't know how you perceive yourself, but I think he's pretty good. I mean, from what I've seen,
I have been complimented on my art. I don't feel comfortable in
taking the compliments. Okay, we'll leave it there then.
Yeah,
we'll leave it there. Let's just take my word for it. Take a look at his blog. We've posted links before.
Or Instagram.
Or Instagram. But I mean, like for example, art for his book or whatever. In a way, it would be very convenient for me if we were in this endeavor together, because I'm not doing anything. He does all the work.
Oh my God. If there are people out there, I mean, obviously, I think like 3 people and a cat is listening to this podcast right now. But
I love the cat.
It's my cat. But if 3 people, if one of you has any interest in illustration, like going back to my book, I made the art for my book, the cover art, and each chapter has this chapter art. And I did that because I want my book to have some sort of illustration. I love illustration. But I immediately realized that is not a sustainable method for future books. I'm writing two books right now. One to continue the Crystal Saga, and another one which has nothing to do with that saga. It's a whole different project. It's a more horror project. It's a more horror-based story. And I've realized that I'm going to make maps, but I'm probably not going to go through illustration again because I'd rather shoot myself in both my balls than go through the process of making 30 plus illustrations for my 30 plus chapters in the book. Oh my God, that gave me so much work. It means almost doubled my work. Like writing the book was one thing, that making all the illustrations was another. So if there's a soul out there, a kind, kindred spirit out there, a beautiful human being, a man or a woman, or again, the cat, that if they have any interest in actually in participating and or cooperating, what's the name? Like if you want to work along with, like there's a name like for artists to
collaboration.
It's not collaboration. Collaboration. Thank you. If you want to collaborate in adding art to my books, leave a comment below. I'll get in touch with you because I'm desperate to find people who can do that shit for me.
And but honestly, I mean, of course, we have to accept the situation that is now. But I mean, that would be a perfect. Excuse to have some sort of contest, and I would gladly. I mean, symbolically, I would gladly put down like €10 as a prize or whatever in merchandise or just plain cash. I would gladly put down €10 just for that if we had, I don't know, let's say at least 20 people. I don't know if that's fair. If it's a fair request, that means
like
again 50 cent. It's 50 cent per person again. So there you go. That's what I'm willing to put down at this stage in our business.
Oh, that'd be great. And if we could grow from that, there are a few things that give me as much pleasure as watching like fan art. And just people creating stuff because they love it. It warms my cold dead heart.
I feel like today you're using very grim adjectives. I don't know if you're.
Again, I've been writing a horror book, so my mindset is probably gone. Yeah.
Okay, a bit of change of pace. I see. But yeah, and I still want to get into a little bit on on your Patreon experience because we still do have a little bit of time. Okay. But yeah, I'm not sure if this is. I mean, our audience, if we have a specific audience, is mature, right? Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, they're like 60 years older. 60 years up.
Yeah, I do want to just lightly touch on. Sort of a joke product that we spoke about, but it could be real. And I don't know if you see where I'm going.
I don't know if you're going.
Do you think it's appropriate to kind of get into that? Or
obviously, it's not appropriate, but go ahead anyway, you beautiful bastard.
So in Sev's book, right, you have this one of the major characters, which is a very powerful figure, very. What's the word?
I wasn't expecting you to. I didn't think you're going to associate the product with my book. I thought you were going to associate it with a podcast.
No, with the character. That's what we spoke about specifically. Didn't we talk about that specifically?
We did. But I forgot that that's where it came from.
Yeah. So there is a very what's the word? It's not domineering. I don't know. What's the word?
Dominating. Is a very
dominating.
Intimidating.
Sure. Yeah, intimidating character. Or what adjectives? What other adjectives would you
aggressive?
Put on this
toxic alpha male.
Gyrus,
he's a very prominent, very posturing, aggressive, intimidating, large, angry man. He's angry,
but he's also fairly young, right? And at least from the art, he looks fairly attractive as well.
Man, Gyros, listen here, man. Gyros Fox, okay?
Right. So the product,
he's like 40 years old on the book.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't aware. He at least he looks much younger in the art.
He takes care of his skin.
Yeah, or maybe it's because of the race. Again, there are different races in the book, right? Different life expectancies. But yeah, so one of the products we discussed, like very far down the line, to expand into other markets, we could have a dildo that features, his shape, if that makes any sense. There you go. That's the revelation.
One of the now we're going into this. You brought it up. We're going into it.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why you spoke about the dildos is Gyros, the character, has horns. He has big, opulent horns, and you wanted to make a dildo in homage to his horns.
Yep.
To which I said, "Fuck no! What are you talking about? What's wrong with you?" And then we stopped talking for a year. And then we came back when I forgot about that, and we decided to make a podcast. Now we're going to stop talking again for another year. So see you guys.
There you go. It's further down the line. Yeah. But look, the important idea here is that there were ideas being thrown. Not all of them were good. Not all of them are recoverable. But who is to say, Sev, who is to say that we didn't find that one person who could be a door to an extreme niche market?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Tyrant dildos is going to be our franchise. It's going to be our legacy.
Dude, I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, as far as I know, I don't know any people who work in the industry, any names, but if you're like
leave a comment.
Part of the major company, a distributor, you just let us know.
Just leave a comment. This whole podcast, this whole episode is just about we're desperately trying to have people engage with us in the comments. Please, dildo companies out there, please talk to us.
No, but to be fair, although that might be true. I mean, this is a podcast about revenue streams, and so I think it's fairly appropriate and nothing to be ashamed of.
Sure. There was this conversation. I watched a video once, a theory that there's two ways to be rich. One is to work really hard, or the other one is to do things other people aren't willing to do. Selling dildos door to door probably isn't something most people are willing to do. But if you do it right, trust me, it's a minefield. It's a mine gold. It's a gold mine.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture that.
Selling Gyros dildos door to door.
No, I'm just trying to think, how would you break the ice there?
Just don't. Why break the ice? Just open the door holding it.
Perfect.
You like? Yeah.
But dude, I'm not sure I would do that, but I would love to make like a short video clip of that, for example, just as a joke. I mean, I'd love to do something like that, something stupid. That would be a great promotional video for anything.
Debatable.
Just fun to do. It would be great.
Fun for sure. Great promotional material.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fair enough. It's
you have to think how much audience will we be alienating versus how much audience will be gaining.
Right, because of a controversy, right? So you don't want to. But I mean, I think we're fairly open in our podcast. I don't think we.
Sure, we did discuss. We did in the last podcast with rape, I think.
Yeah, taken out of context, it sounds much worse than it was. I mean, there was just some passing comment on some comparison that did make sense at the time. Just just listen to the podcast. Don't just take it out of the context. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. It's true. We didn't spare anything anything that's on our mind.
If anything, that shows that we're brave. We're brave people and not afraid to talk about the most controversial topics, even if it bankrupts us.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I know we usually try to stay away from tangents, but it just reminded me of a joke of this is a comedian. I'm sorry. I'm going to go on a rant for like 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
But it's a comedian. I think his name is Mark Normand. Yeah, and he's pretty funny, but his humor is not for everyone. But he was saying
he is a bit of an edgelord. Yeah.
Okay, you know him, but cool. But yeah, there's one joke that this reminds me of about bravery, and he was talking about bravery and how women are brave, and then he was comparing, well, what about men being brave and stuff like that? So he's like having dinner with a girl he's meeting for the first time, and she was talking about something. I don't remember specifically the context of the joke, but she said something like, I did this and that the other day, or I don't know, I told my boss to fuck off or whatever. I don't remember. And she says, that was pretty brave of me. And she's like, you should try it. Turning to Mark Normand, you should try it. You should be brave. Like, yeah, maybe I will. Who knows? Maybe I'll just stop pretending this conversation is interesting. So yeah,
he is a
yeah.
bit
Just
of
remind. Yeah, but he's witty, so to speak. A lot of logic jokes, right? Just takes your mind somewhere else.
A lot of that social
Awkwardness.
humor, social awkwardness, social paradigms, and the light and humor behind that. He is a witty man. Not my cup of tea, but I do understand what you're talking about. Like to me, Bill Burr does a lot of that. He does enjoy going on crazy rants, and his rants are also kind of like through the male perspective, and he does poke fun at women. And I know your story wasn't exactly to be man versus women, but that's usually how these jokes go. It's like, oh, men and women are so different. Women say this, and men, if a man would say the same thing, he'd end up in prison or in jail or something. That's always how those jokes sort of go. And
right. Yeah, he's very. I think Bill Burr is much more like confrontational. He says things that definitely offend people. Like it's like, you know, Mark Norman is kind of subtle. Yeah, I'm kind of funny. I'm just comparing this to something else. I'm not talking about this thing. Yeah, like, I'm not talking about this thing. I'm just comparing it to something else, and that's funny. No, Bill Burr just talks about the thing, and he's not afraid to offend people. He's like, yeah, in your face.
He's too New York.
But he's surprising. I mean, I was curious watching a few of his interviews. I'll stay away from this topic now. I'm sorry. That's my fault. But yeah, he was doing some interviews. He's actually very kind of down to earth and very calm. He knows when to, you know, stay quiet and not to go into bullshit. He's not a dumbass. That's just his act.
Yeah, I also watched a few interviews of him, mostly on the Joe Rogan podcast, where he's actually he doesn't have much of opinions on anything. It's like only when you really provoke him does he go off on a rant. Like when people are like actually trying to stab him, like, hey, say something about this, and he just goes off, and it's often hilarious. But besides that, if someone starts saying crazy shit around him, his reaction most of the times is, yeah, sure. Yeah, you do you. If it works for you, yeah.
Yeah. So actually very, you know, kind of mature in that regard, whatever that means. But yeah, so I did want to get into a little bit about your Patreon experience, because I have a basic idea of what Patreon is. So what I understand, and then I'll let you talk about your experience and if I got something wrong. Patreon is pretty much a platform where you set up an account and you're a person who does something, or you're trying to offer some kind of value to an audience, to people, or service or whatever. So it could be, I don't know, maybe I make tables and sell them and ship them online or something, and make videos of them, or I just make videos of I don't know, carving chopsticks, or I don't know, I make podcasts or whatever, like any kind of thing. And I'm not sure how far that goes into just online creation or online products, or if it can be, like I said, making a table and selling it, or
sometimes
other projects.
It is the promise of help me make something big, which is pretty much what is how I approached Patreon, is help me finish a book.
Or if I just may finish then. And so the way I understand is that what the people who follow you do is generally it's a monthly based subscription fee.
Yeah, it depends. There are two types of ways. At least when I was on Patreon, there were two types of ways that you could set up your Patreon. One was sort of through donations, which is just drop whatever you can. It's not monthly, it's just a one-time drop, and it can be from 2 cents to $5. And then there are tiers. Like if you drop 5 cents, you basically say you get a thank you. If you drop $5 to have a book, to help publish a book, you might have this personalized thank you on the book saying, thank you, Jay, for your $5. And it goes in the book. So if you bought the book, there is your name. If you spend $10, you get a new tier. It was like you have a card sent to your address with an illustration, and that illustration is specific to you. So you have this, through $10 you get this thank you note from the author saying, thank you, Jay, you really are the light of my sun. And if you spend like $20, you get a new tier, and you get a free copy of the book or whatever. That'd be a very generous tier system, but that's pretty much how it can work. Another
So
way,
this would be a one-time based
yeah.
donation. Okay.
And then you have the other, which is the monthly subscription, which is kind of like how Netflix works. If you want a comparison, you every month you have basically you give your credit card information, and every month it deducts a fee that you are okay with giving. So like €2, $2, whatever.
So
And
would that be the decision of the person who's giving
yeah,
the money?
it is. No,
Or is the fee
yeah, it
decided?
is. It is based on the person who gives the money. It's always based on how much you want to give. The power
So
is
you
always
cannot-
on the side of the customer.
So you don't have any power to decide, look, my minimum fee is like $1 a month or something, or €1 a month.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. You can create tiers and say that if you only give me 2 cents, I'm not going to bother acknowledging you. Like 2 cents isn't enough for me to write a personalized note. But again, if there are tier systems through the monthly subscription, imagine that every day I publish something on Patreon. If using the example of the book, imagine each day I release a page on the Patreon, and if you paid that month, you get all those days. As soon as you stop paying, the content is immediately closed to you. You lose access to those pages. And of course, there are also tiers. If you pay $10 a month, you get all the pages, plus you also get the illustrations, and maybe you might get the video I made. And like you can unlock things according to the amount of money you're making. The amount of
some
money you're
exclusive
giving.
stuff.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
some exclusive stuff.
So those are the 2 ways that Patreon worked. And I had quite a lot of success with Patreon. Like a lot of my revenue that I gained in making the book came from Patreon. I got like €200 a month through Patreon for quite some time. And that was, I kind of felt nervous because I felt like I wasn't putting enough on Patreon to justify the attention I was getting from it. So people were giving me money, and I felt like I wasn't putting enough in Patreon that would justify it. I kind of felt like a fraud. So it became really hard for me to accept money that way. And at the time, Patreon was relatively new, and in Portugal, it seems to me, this might be my old man screaming at clouds moment, but it does seem to me that Portugal has this sort of stigma against online shopping. Like people don't trust online shopping, and they kind of, oh wait, I'm putting my credit card information on Patreon? They're going to steal from me. Oh, those guys aren't to be trusted. They'll take my money. And there's a lot of mistrust about hacking and personal information. And so it kind of is telling people to support me on Patreon. It kind of felt like I was putting them in danger. So after a while, I decided to back off away from Patreon, because I also, at the time, I was okay with money. I had enough money to launch the book, so I was okay with it. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to say goodbye to the people on Patreon. It wasn't sudden. I told everyone that the book was coming out. Thank you for your support. And I posted everywhere to make sure people understood that Patreon was closing. And I thanked them for their efforts. But it was a nerve-wracking, anxiety-ridden experience to me, because I always felt like I was getting money for nothing, and it made me nervous.
Okay, I think there is some. I wish I knew the term. I think there is some psychological term for that. It's like some guilt, some kind of whatever guilt. It's not. I know it's not the survivor's guilt, but it's something else kind of guilt. Imposter's guilt, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Syndrome. Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's what it sounds like to me. And but I can understand that. Although I wonder what the people who contributed felt regarding that. But I can understand that, because you spent all this time beforehand to put the book, but what you're putting out now has not been very productive. So you feel like, I'm not doing enough. I mean, I have felt that in jobs before, especially when you're not very experienced and you're just getting something, like you feel like, I should be more competent. I should be doing this better. But I mean, specifically in terms of work, I mean, you're unexperienced. It's acceptable that in the beginning you're not as good as you can be.
There's a learning process, yeah.
Right. I mean, in your case, I guess it's a little bit different, because again, what you were putting out at the moment was not on par with the rate you put it out in the beginning, because you already had everything ready before then. But yeah, I can see that. But I wonder what the people who contributed thought. And
True,
if you're one of them, let us know.
That was another thing. There is a parallel between this podcast and the Patreon. Like we joked about how we're desperate to have comments here. And here at least I'm talking with you. Like I can gauge the quality of our product with you. On Patreon, I was also desperate for community feedback, just so I had anyone to talk to. Because I had nothing. It was just me putting out stuff. And no one would
you're talking
comment.
to a wall, right? And there was magically money coming from the wall or something like that.
Right now, if people gave us money now, I would... Please do. Please, by the way. Please just give us money. But if people gave us money now, I'd be okay with it, because I can gauge with you the quality of the product that we were making, and I have a much more firm tact of what we are delivering. Back then with Patreon, it was so nebulous. I felt like, is this legal?
Oh, I'd love to see fan art of that as well. Just that situation. Oh, that's great. I love that idea. Yeah. Again, I just have like a flash in my mind of like what that would look like in terms of art. That's one thing. Kind of, I'm not an artist, and I don't think I'm willing to put in the time to do like proper art. But sometimes I wish to like just have these dumb ideas in my head and put them out in the real world so other people can see it or listen to them. Because so for me, like the way that I could do that is with some short stories with acting or something like that. Because but some things you could only do with animation, right? Like if you have some really stupid things in your mind, maybe it would be cost prohibitive or just reality prohibitive. But yeah, I like that. Just these flashes sometimes. I wish it would be easier to make them reality than spend like 2 days just to draw some painting. But you know, that's the value of labor. That's why you need a lot of people to pay for a Patreon to make your time worth it. Because if you just make one painting for one person, it's going to cost a lot of money for that one person. But if you make a painting and put it online, it can cost almost nothing if you have enough contribution behind it. It's all about volume, isn't it? In that sense.
And that's also part of the reason why I'm currently writing 2 books at the same time while having one published. Because my endeavor now is I'm going to try and get away from self-publishing and independent publishing. I am in search of an agent. So I want to create as much volume of work that I can show what my caliber of writing is. And I want to try and pitch that to an agent so that all this bullshit that we've talked about selling our talents, about being the salesman, about creating ads, merchandise, caring about the values and numbers, the Patreons, the merchandise, fuck all that. That is so much noise that disrupts your artistry. Taking it back to the theme of the podcast, like there is such a thing as being overburdened with too much noise around you, and I've recently realized that I don't want any of that. That detracts from my creative outlet. So I'm going to focus just on writing, and I'm going to put all my efforts on it, and I'm going to try as hard as I can to get a goddamn agent that can propel my art forward and cut the middleman out of all that. Actually, no, get middleman to do all that bullshit that I'm not willing to do.
I mean, I completely agree. That's why most kind of successful businesses are organizations. You have several people, right, doing different tasks, and they're either more interested in or more capable of or just more qualified to do. So
this podcast is another example of that. Like, you're the main creator of the podcast. I am more of a co-host. I appear
right, and
here,
but you do the art, all the visuals.
I contribute, but I don't have all the weight on my shoulders. And this collaboration, it is mamma mia perfect for me. I'm happy with this. I can do this indefinitely. Hopefully not, but if we can, I can. I'm comfortable with the method we have right now, and I hope you are as well.
Yeah, I'm happy mostly. There's just one thing I personally do not really like editing. I like a little bit more of I like planning. I like organizing. The editing itself is a little bit dull, but
It
I'm
does
okay
seem
to
to me
do
that
it.
you would be an amazing producer for anything, not just this
I would love to
podcast.
do that. I
Mm.
gotta get into that. I haven't had much time to. That's why also, by the way, if anyone noticed that I'm in a much better mood, is because I took an extra day off and I just slept without an alarm clock. And I just did magic for me.
That'll do
Um,
it.
yeah, and like I haven't had the time to look into that because I'm just trying to look at so many things at the same time. There's so many topics of interest for me. I mean, the podcast, of course, I'm also working, and I'm also looking into like personal finance and investment as well. But yeah, one of the things I want to look into is just writing scripts, and I would like to write a very short script, just like 1 or 2 minute long, something very short, and just try to see what it would look like. Just just to go through the process. I don't care if it's good or bad. I would like to go through the process. So I
Just
took a
accept the
quick
fact that
look.
accept the fact that if it comes out bad, you still did it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And I did take a quick look at the platforms for creating scripts and just a little bit a basic idea of the formatting for scripts, but I don't actually understand it well. So I know there's generally a standardized format for how you present information in a script as opposed to a book. So I'd like to at least get that and just do a very stupid, dumb story. Like it doesn't even have to be a story; it just can be Jay wakes up in the morning, walks into the toilet, takes a piss, and gets breakfast. It can be just as dumb as that, as long as I'm able to follow the process. So,
If
and
I
I think,
can, my experience from script writing, I only studied it in university. I never wrote a script, professionally. But basically, it's just character. You start with the setting, interior home. You don't need to describe anything. Then you say character. You have to imagine it through the lens of a camera. So character goes into scene and takes holds crotch over toilet, and then immediately you can put in the dialogue saying, "Ah, fucking Mondays." And
right.
character, and they just said, or before that, you can put a mood tag saying, groggily, sleepily, like sleepily says, "Fucking Mondays." End scene, next scene, and that's all you need to do, and you build scenes like that constantly like that.
Right, actually, that's actually a good tip because I didn't even think, although it is recording, I didn't even think that you should write it as if you're writing from the point of view of a camera, right? I didn't even think about that. But another thing is like I would enjoy, and I don't think it would take too much effort on my part to actually write and act this out. But then the editing would be if I did do this, like I wouldn't have the time to do the editing now with the podcast and all my other projects. I just wouldn't be able to. So yeah, it would be. I actually tried to get some people, I mean, from my town to see if they'd be interested in doing stuff like this, but very vaguely, and it's also, oh yeah, that's a cool idea, let's do it. That kind of talk.
Ah, yes, I do know. Those are the guys that say,
Everybody.
"Oh, you wrote a book. Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
See ya."
Everybody knows that kind of talk. It's when people don't put their money where their mouth is, right? And
But
yeah,
are
it's
hugely
just
congratulatory.
yeah, but it's speculative talk. It's fine. I mean, that's how things come to be, right? You need to have that stage, and I mean, many things I would like to do. I'd like to get back to my board games now that I'm fully vaccinated. I got my second shot of COVID, so
I'm gonna get it this week.
many things I want. Yeah, I'm gonna do many things. We're fully vaccinated, guys. We're ready for our. I know in Portugal there is Comic-Con in Portugal coming up in December, I believe. We were thinking maybe of going. Wanted to go as a sort of an artist, have a booth or something.
Yay.
Haven't had a reply yet. But yeah, maybe it would be nice to go for a meet and greet, actually socialize, something like that. But in any case, I think we're coming to an end. Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah, and any closing thoughts?
The closing thoughts. We started out with the differences between financial success and your personal success, and it's very important to distinguish the two. Really is. And just because you flop at something, that does not mean that you are a flop. The fact that you created a project, that you finished a project, anything is worth so much more, even if it's just to you. It is infinitely worth just finishing projects. The sales pitch and all that, that is a bit more difficult. That is another area of expertise that not everyone can be good at. So don't think that just because you didn't make money from something that you pour your heart and soul into, that it doesn't have value. Is the only lesson I'd hope people get from this.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it in any better words. I mean, we spoke about success, personal and financial. We covered a few ideas for revenue streams. Some, very valid. Others perhaps a little bit eccentric, if that's the best word.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to release one or so podcasts a month. And
just a quick call to action. Let us know what ways you found to make some money on your personal projects and how well did it turn out. We have a lot of topics planned for the podcast. Not all of them are going to be finances. Not all of them are going to be about art. Sometimes we just want to talk about the series and books that we've been enjoying lately. But if you're interested, stay tuned, stay subscribed, and we stay up to date.
Yeah, and as always, we'll put more information in the links, some things we talked about. And so far, we're on YouTube and Spotify. And guys, do like and subscribe. I mean, more people can find our allegedly awesome podcast. I am Jay.
I'm Sev.
Artistry Podcast.
Signing off.